What is up, YouTube? Welcome to Premium MMA. My name is Hydro, aka Big Splash, and I'm here to give you my UFC Fight Night, Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen prediction, picks, and bets. Let's get straight into it. First fight of the night, we got Joselyne Edwards versus Lucie Pudilova. I got Lucie in this match just because, well, technically, these women, they're like the same fighter, damn near. But I think Lucie is just she's more aggressive. Jocelyn fights more of a distance fight, and she just stays there waiting to counter. And but her countering is not that great. She fights a boring fight. Every fight I've seen her, especially recently, I was never too impressed. I was like, come on, let's get to the next fight already. But Lucie, she actually pushes her opponent back into the cage, which she's gonna do to Jocelyn, and then just stays aggressive, just boom boom outpoints her, and you can see her striking differential is pretty nice too. And I think just by looking at their footage, I like Lucie's striking better than Jocelyn's, and I think this fight is gonna stay on the feet. So the pick here is Lucie. Next up, we got Phillips versus Gaston Bolanos. I got Gaston Bolanos in this fight. He is a good fighter. He's a champion in Bellator, and he's a good Bellator fighter. And usually those fighters say, like Michael Chandler, he was a champ there, and he's actually pretty good. He's beaten a couple people in the top five in the lightweight. So Gaston Bolanos here, I think he'll do good in the bantamweight division. I think he'll be able to go up in the ranks, probably top five in the bantamweight, especially if he, because I know he's gonna have different type of training, especially going into UFC. He's gonna have a little bit different camp, maybe the same coach or something. So all I know is that he's gonna get better into the UFC. And Aaron Phillips, on the other hand, his debut didn't look too good. He didn't. He was getting beat up. He was going against a good opponent. I forgot who that was. It was just so long ago, but Aaron Phillips, he didn't really impress me, especially in his UFC debut. But Gaston here, he does have the experience, and he's a champ, especially in Bellator. Bellator has really good fighters, so I'm just going off of that. I only seen a few fights with Gaston. Gaston is a good striker, especially if someone comes at him really aggressive. He's able to stay calm and counter them and outstrike them and get the knockout. He did like this little spinning back elbow his last fight, and that was pretty dope. So he actually impressed me in his footage. So the pick here is Gaston Bolanos in his UFC debut. On to the next one. Next up, we got Bruna Brasil versus Denis Gomes. I got Bruna Brasil in this matchup. Bruna Brasil really impressed me in her Dana White Contender Series, and she ended up getting the finish as well. I believe it was like second or third round. It was later on in the fight, but still, that was a great finish. And I love when women in the women's fights, there's finishes. That gives me high confidence. And Denise Gomez, in her UFC matchups, she didn't show me too much. Well, she is a good striker. She keeps the pressure going. She knows how to stalk her opponents. She just stalks them down and stays in front of them. But Bruna Brasil, her striking is also good. She looks like a kickboxer out there, but then she could take you to the ground. And when it gets to the ground, she's good at jujitsu. She's good at scrambling, uh, and she looks for submissions too. So that's why I'm leaning towards Bruna Brasil. I think Bruna Brasil she's older, more experienced, has more fights under her belt, and I just think she could get it done, especially in her UFC debut here. This is a perfect matchup for her in her UFC debut. Denise Gomez is fairly young. I think she has a little bit more to learn, and yeah, her ground game got to get better because Bruna Brasil, she can control Denise Gomez on the ground however she wants to. Bruna Brasil's ground game is no joke, and her stand up game is pretty nice. And you could tell how her Dana White Contender Series fight went. Look at her. Look at the stats. Look at the striking stats. Look at the grappling stats. And she did go against a really good opponent as well. So yeah, so the pick here is Bruna Brasil for a UFC debut. Next up, we got Lando Vannata versus Daniel Zellhuber. I was leaning towards Daniel in this fight. I swear, I was choosing Zellhuber just because his striking, his kickboxing, but his bout with Trey Ogden, that was atrocious. To be honest, I chose Daniel Zellhuber to knock out Trey Ogden, which he did not do, and then it wasn't even close to. And then I was watching Lando Vannata's footage. Lando is at least aggressive. He stays on the gas pedal. He goes everywhere. He will strike with you. He goes for takedown. He's actually a good wrestler, and he'll once he gets you down to the ground, he'll stay on you, probably ground and pound you for a little bit, and then get you back up to your feet and strike with you and do it all over again and just mix everything up. And that really impressed me with Lando. So I got Lando in this matchup, and I think Lando will win in this fight in the decision because Daniel Zellhuber, he's a good striker, but it just looks like he tries to just point the fight, outpoint his opponent, which is kind of hard in MMA. This is MMA, it's not boxing. Like, that's what I'm saying. So Lando here, I believe he'll be able to get the takedowns on Daniel Huber whenever he wants to, and I don't think Lando is scared of Daniel Zellhuber striking. Neither am I. I'm not too worried about it with Lando in this matchup. I think Lando will actually go back and forth striking with Daniel, especially how Daniel just likes to try. He just stands there and try to get reads, and he just tries to get reads for too long. And I just don't like that. So I got Lando. He's more aggressive, more active, and I think he will be the more aggressive and active fighter in this matchup. So yeah, the pick here is Lando. Next up, we got Gillian Robertson versus Piera Rodriguez. I'm actually really excited for this women's matchups, and I'm never really too excited for, women's fighting, but this one I am. Just because Gillian Robertson, she's a savage. She's not a savage on the feet. Her stand-up game, I don't like her stand-up game. I think it's not good at all. But once she gets a hold of you and wraps her arms around you and takes you to the ground, it's a problem. She's drowning her opponents. She drowns her opponents, literally. Her ground game is so relentless. It's almost like that's all she practices. She don't even care about the stand-up. Because she's tough, too. Gillian Robertson is really tough. I was leaning towards Gillian in the beginning because just how tough she is and how relentless her ground game is. She goes for submissions over position, which is kind of gnarly, especially in MMA, because it's not a grappling match, it's an MMA match. So you just gotta, I would say you need to get position over submission, but Gillian Robertson don't care. That's how good she is on the ground. She'd go for submissions over positions, and still get her position back. She's just relentless on the ground. She knows how to just keep you there and just scramble. And she's really tough, super, super tough. She could take ground and pound, elbows to the face. She still works. She is just like, it doesn't phase her. She's a savage. But Piera Rodriguez is 9-0. Piera Rodriguez has relentless stand-up. I love Piera Rodriguez's stand-up game. She could fight. And her wrestling, I think, and when I was watching more footage on Rodriguez, I feel like her wrestling is a good match for Robertson's wrestling. I think she could wrestle with Robertson. So that's why my pick here, that's why I chose Piera Rodriguez last minute, just because she has stand-up game. Gillian Robertson does not have stand-up game, because if Rodriguez realizes that she could beat Gillian in the stand-up, she'll just defend all of Gillian's takedowns. Because Gillian, she does sometimes her takedowns aren't the best, but that's what I'm saying. If she does get you to the ground, she's drowning you. But Piera Rodriguez, I think she will be ready for Gillian Robertson's wrestling, and she will be able to defend takedowns, even if it got to the ground. Even I think Rodriguez could get her own takedowns on Robertson, and if it got to the ground, Rodriguez could definitely hold her down for a little bit, ground and pound strike for a little bit, and then get back up to the feet and work her on the feet and tire her out and defend all her takedowns after that, especially when it goes to the later rounds. So yeah, the pick here is Piera Rodriguez. I think Rodriguez is going to stay undefeated after this fight. So yeah, on to the next one. Next up, we got Zach Cummings versus Ed Herman. I got Zach Cummings in this matchup. Zach Cummings is powerful, relentless. He also has a chin. I'm not worried about his chin at all. And Ed Herman, he's not on point no more. This 4 years difference they got is huge. Yeah, Zach Cummings is 38. He's old, but Ed Herman is 42. And he's not like a Glover 42. You can't even compare those two. So that's why I got Zach Cummings in this fight. Zach Cummings, he has power. He has knockout power. And he has a chin. If Ed Herman hits Zach Cummings, Cummings is not going out. Zach Cummings is going to eat that punch and laugh at it and just walk Ed Herman down. Ed Herman is not as precise as he was before. Like I said, he's 42. Yeah, he is the bigger fighter, but Zach Cummings, he's going to be able to keep this matchup on the feet and just outstrike Ed Herman. And maybe get a knockout. Probably in later rounds, probably third rounds. Or who you never know. Maybe in the very first round, just because how old Ed Herman is. Ed Herman doesn't really have a chin. Zach Cummings does have a chin, and Zach Cummings knows how to fight. He has hands. I haven't seen Zach Cummings ground games, but I think he'll be able to stuff Ed's takedowns. And yeah, I don't think Ed has a chance in this fight. So I got Zach Cummings in this matchup. Like I said, Zach Cummings has a chin. I'm not worried about him getting knocked out or anything or submitted or finished. If anything, Zach Cummings will get the finish on Ed Herman in this matchup. So the pick here is Zach Cummings. Next up, we got Brandon Royval versus Matheus Nicolau. I love this matchup. This was a really hard matchup for me to pick. I love both fighters. Brandon Royval is nasty on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is just crazy. And with his stand-up is all right, is decent, but he's just a savage. He'll walk you down. He'll eat the punches and just keep walking you down and striking with you. He's not afraid of nobody in the striking. And when it goes to the ground, he's comfortable on the ground. That is his area. Matheus Nicolau, on the other hand, I don't like the way he fights. It kind of gets me like, I'm like, dude, come on. Especially if I have money on him. He just likes to stay on the outside of the cage. Every fight, he just stays on the outside of the cage. His opponents are walking him down and just trying to, outstrike him or, just trying to get at him. But Matheus, he just stays on the outside, just running away from his opponents in all his fights, just running away from him and just countering. But Matheus Nicolau is a great counter striker. He's good at counter striking, and his ground game is pretty decent too. He's one of those fighters, again, he'll get a takedown, he'll take you down, ground and pound you for a little bit and get back up and then just try to counter strike you again. Just stay on the outside. He's just an outside fighter. So in this matchup, this is how I predict it going. Brandon Royval is just going to be pressuring Matheus against the back of the cage. Matheus is going to do his thing, just, run back and forth along the cage or go all the way around. Brandon's just going to be hunting this dude with the punches. Brandon probably is going to try to get a takedown. And if he doesn't, because Matheus' takedown defense is pretty good. It's hard to get Matheus Nicolau down. So if anything, Matheus could get the takedown on Brandon, and then that's where Brandon will work off of his back with his jiu-jitsu. And that's where I'll be scared of with Matheus, because Brandon Royval is no joke off of his back. He is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu artist. But I got to go with Matheus here. I think Matheus will get it done and will be able to do whatever. He will want to do whatever it takes to survive in this matchup, because Brandon Royval is no joke. And yeah, so I got Matheus Nicolau in this matchup. I was going back and forth with these two. At first, I was going with Matheus, and then I switched to Brandon. I was like, "Oh, Brandon, he's gonna win because it's slick jiu-jitsu if it's the ground." But then I was watching more footage on Matheus. I was like, "Wow, Matheus knows what he needs to do on the ground to not get submitted. He's very aware on the ground, and he's good at striking and countering. So therefore, I got Matheus playing the point game and winning in decision. So yeah, the pick here is Matheus Nicolau. Next up, we got Bill Algeo versus TJ Brown. This one was another hard one to pick for me, but my pick here is Bill, just because I think Bill is just tougher. I think Bill, I wouldn't say is a better fighter, because Bill definitely gets taken down all the time. I think his takedown defense is worse than 55%. And Bill Algeo gets his back taken all the time as well. And that scares the hell out of me. He ends up surviving, but he always gets his back taken. He's a good striker, which I like. He's able to bob and weave. He knows how to, he has great head movement. He has great defense. He's actually really accurate with his punches as well, and he hits hard. But TJ Brown, on the other hand, the reason why I'm not going with him, I think he has the less IQ, especially in the stand up. He's wild. He's wild in the stand up, and his chin does not hold up. So I think Bill Algeo, if he ends up putting a combo on TJ Brown, he could put him out. But TJ Brown is a good wrestler. He's great at scrambling. He's good at wrestling. His jiu-jitsu, he doesn't look for submissions. He's more of a position guy, which I do like. So this is a hard matchup for Bill Algeo, and but I just got Bill just because I think he is the better striker, and hopefully he can keep this on the feet. But I don't like this. I don't like this pick because TJ Brown is a good fighter. Don't underestimate TJ Brown. And I believe that TJ Brown is the underdog, and I'm going for the favorite. And usually when it's like that, when I don't like, the matchup, or it's hard for me to pick, I'll just go for the underdog. But no, I think I like Bill Algeo. I like how much of a dog he is. He's really tough, and I think he'll be able to stand with TJ Brown. I think he'll be able to get up from TJ Brown's positioning, on the ground once he takes him down. So yeah, the pick here is Bill Algeo. Like I said, it was hard to pick this one. Both these fighters, I like both these fighters, but they both have holes in their games. TJ Brown, he just rushes his opponent sometimes, especially in the stand-up. Like I said, he leaves his chin up there. This was a hard matchup to pick. But like I said, my pick here is Bill Algeo. Next up, we got Clay Guida versus Rafa Garcia. This was a pretty easy matchup for me to pick. I got Rafa Garcia in this matchup. Clay Guida is getting up there in age. He did win a couple fights ago, but I think he lost his recent fight. But Rafa Garcia, he's good at striking. He's good at wrestling. He'll take you down. He's good at scrambling. He has endurance. And I think his striking is better than what it says on paper on here. But yeah, Clay Guida is getting old, like I said, and I think he's going to retire maybe after this fight. If he doesn't retire after this fight, then I don't know what else is left for him, to be honest. I think he should retire after this fight. Rafa Garcia, he should be able to put it on Clay Guida easily. Probably get a decision win. So yeah, the pick here is Rafa Garcia. Next up, we got Pedro Munhoz versus Chris Gutierrez. I got Chris Gutierrez in this fight. Chris Gutierrez is a great striker. He is so crazy in his striking. And in this matchup, I think Pedro is going to try to take down Chris because Chris is so good in the striking that I don't think Pedro wants none of that. Pedro's striking is okay, it's decent, but he will get outstriked by Chris Gutierrez. And Chris, his takedown defense, I believe will be good enough for him to defend takedowns against Pedro. Pedro, he is a wrestler. He is good on the ground. He's good at scrambling. He's good at having dominant positions and just, throwing them elbows and just ground and pounding you. But I think Chris Gutierrez has a active bottom game to where he can hip escape and get up and just keep striking. But that's what I'm saying. He needs to defend these takedowns, which I think he will, and I think he is preparing for. And if he does, and if he keeps it standing, he could get a knockout. He could get a knockout, maybe an early knockout. And that's if Pedro is stupid enough to just stand with him in front of his face. So the pick here is Chris Gutierrez. Chris Gutierrez is underrated in the bantamweight division. He's going to make it to the top 5 rankings. I'm actually a huge fan of him. So yeah, the pick here is Chris Gutierrez. Next up, we got Tanner Boser versus Ian Cutelaba. I got Tanner Boser in this matchup just because Ian Cutelaba, he has not showed me anything impressive. All he has showed me is that he has a low IQ fighting game, and I don't like that. He always gets finished when he shouldn't be getting finished. Like, he's a good fighter, great fighter, strong, but it's just he just makes bad decisions at the wrong time, and he's not able to come back from those decisions as well. And Tanner Boser, he's active on the feet. Like, bro, he has good head movement. He tries to have the best head movement as he can, and I like that. He's just active on the feet. He'll strike with you. He'll stay in your face, and he'll defend those takedowns. But Ian Cutelaba could probably get those takedowns on Tanner because Ian is a good wrestler. That's what I could say. He's a good wrestler, and that, but it just depends if he could capitalize off those takedowns. He has a low IQ. He just has low IQ in fighting. So Tanner, I think Tanner will be able to get back up. Maybe even Ian's has such a low IQ that he could probably get submitted from a striker. That's what I'm scared of. I'm never betting on Ian Cutelaba. And Tanner Boser, he's actually a really good striker. And I think he's actually a karate dude too. So yeah, so the pick here is Tanner. And on to the next one. Next up, we got Dustin Jacoby versus Osman Mirzakimov. I got Osman in this matchup. He's undefeated, and I think he will stay undefeated in this matchup. Dustin Jacoby is my boy. I love Dustin Jacoby. I think he's a great striker, phenomenal kickboxer. But Osman is a good striker as well. And he's a karate dude. He knows how to strike. And he's fought at heavyweight as well. So he has power. And I'm not afraid of him making weight because he makes weight at light heavyweight all the time. He just moved up in weight just to fight one guy. And he made around, it was like 241 he made weight at, which was pretty good. So, but I think he will make weight in this fight, and I think he will look good in this fight against Dustin Jacoby. I don't care about Dustin Jacoby's height or reach. Even though, yes, like I said, Dustin Jacoby is my dude. He's a great striker, great head movement, great kickboxer. But I think Osman could get it done here. I think people are underestimating Osman. Osman has power, knockout power, and Dustin Jacoby could get caught just because of his head movement. He has head movement to where it's almost like boxing. He is a kickboxer, but I think he could get kicked in the freaking head, dude. To be honest, by Osman. Osman is, he looks fat and chunky, but he could kick as well. He's a karate guy. He will knock you the fuck out. He has power. He's fought in that heavyweight as well. And his striking is just magnificent. His defense is great, and his accuracy is great. So I don't see this going to the decision at all. I see Asmat getting the finish, and I see Asmat staying undefeated in this matchup. So the pick here is Asmat. Next up, we got Edson Barboza versus Billy Quarantillo. This was a hard one to pick for me. This was one of the matchups I was going back and forth with the fighters, but I came to choose Billy because Billy is a dog. Edson Barboza, he's a relentless striker. I think that he's going to come out just swinging, wailing, going crazy in the beginning in the first rounds. And I think Billy will see that. And then after that, the second and third round, Billy will capitalize and just work Edson Barboza. Because Barboza does slow down towards the end of the fight. Like in the middle of the second and the third round, he'll tend to slow down a little bit. And Billy, he's relentless and very tough. He'll just stay in your face and just And he's able to get takedowns as well. He's a good wrestler and he's good on the ground. Will be able to hold dominant position over Edson Barboza, I believe. But if this stays on the feet, I think Billy will be able to outstrike Edson. Even though how good Edson Barboza is at striking, Billy will eat those punches. Billy has a chin. And believe me when I say that, Billy is very tough and has a chin. So I got Billy in this matchup. He is going to outstrike Edson Barboza. Billy just stows volume and just stays in your face. And I love that. He's an exciting fighter. So is Edson, but I just think Billy could get it done in this matchup. So the pick here is Billy Quarantillo. Next up, we get the main event. Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. This is so dope that the UFC put these two as a main event. Max Holloway needs a comeback win from all of those Volkanovski losses. And Arnold Allen needs a win over Max Holloway. Not only to impress the featherweight division and Dana White, but just to get that, at least a title shot. If Arnold Allen here is able to beat Max Holloway, he'll for sure get a title shot in the featherweight division. For sure. Next in line right after Yair. And to be honest, I think Arnold Allen can get it done here. Max Holloway, the greatest boxer in the UFC, has hands, could stand up with Volk like nothing. Well, it didn't look like that in the third fight, but Max Holloway is no joke. And then when you take Max Holloway all the way down, he's able to get back up to his feet. He does not accept being on the ground. He loves to strike. He loves to stay on his feet. So that's where I think this match is gonna stay, is on the feet. I do think Arnold Allen is gonna try to get takedowns, which I do think he will get a few takedowns. But Max Holloway is just gonna get back to the feet and they're just going to be striking each other. But I think Arnold Allen here is a good enough striker to strike with Max Holloway. And you never know, losing 3 times to the same person, that can mess up your head a little bit. What if Max is still young? But what if that fucked him up a little bit? And who knows what he was doing out of camp or out of, out of camp, because he wasn't fighting. He didn't get this fight until like a few months after he lost. So, but we never know. Max Holloway could come back better than ever. He could look magnificent. But Arnold Allen does look phenomenal in the featherweight division. I think he is a problem for the featherweight division, and this is going to be a really good fight versus him and Max Holloway. I was going for Max Holloway at first, but I'm going for Arnold Allen just because he's the underdog, and I just want to see him go far. I just want to see him go far in the UFC, go for the title shot. To be honest, I don't think he's going to become a champion. I don't think he'll be Alex Volkanovski or Yair Rodriguez, but he will get a shot, and he will be in the top 5 and be a problem for the top 5 division or the top 5 rankings in the featherweight division. So the pick here is Arnold Allen. I'm pretty high on him, and he is my underdog of the week. Max Holloway, I love that dude. He's a great striker. He's a legend. I think he's going to go down in Hall of Fame, in the UFC Hall of Fame. But yeah, the pick here is Arnold Allen. I'm sorry I'm going against Max Holloway. I love him as a fan. I'm a huge fan of Max. Great striker. I look up to his striking. But Arnold Allen is a dog. He is a beast. And he's done me justice in the UFC. He's done me right. And he's southpaw. He's a good striker. And I think he will be able to strike with Max. So yeah, the pick here is Arnold Allen. So that is it for my picks for UFC Fight Night. Max Holloway versus Arnold Allen. Thank y'all for tuning in. If y'all like this video, like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.